Marvel Comics are hyping up their big Imperial series, which apparently is going to be growing and growing. They're claiming at this point that it's going to be the jumpstart for a new era of Marvel cosmic comic books, and certainly implying heavily that it's going to lead into more series down the line. Obviously, this is being kicked off with Jonathan Hickman, probably Marvel Comics' only A-lister left, although it's debatable whether or not you want to call him an A-lister at this point. He has had some very high-profile failures within the last couple of years at Marvel Comics, and I think there's some stuff about this that's kind of exciting because I do like the cosmic corner of the universe, but there are a couple of red flags, one really big red flag in my opinion, but we will get to all those details in short time in this video. Marvel Comics is pulling out all the stops to generate hype for Jonathan Hickman's new series Imperial, a 4-issue event launching in June of 2025 that promises to be a game changer for the Marvel cosmic side of the universe. According to Marvel's official announcements, Imperial will reshape the Marvel galaxy and build a foundation for a wave of new space set series later this year, positioning it as a cornerstone for an entirely new era of interconnected cosmic storytelling. Hickman, alongside artist Federico Vicentini and Iban Coelho, is set to deliver a saga that tackles the fallout of assassinated galactic leaders, igniting wars and power struggles that will redefine Marvel's spacefaring landscape. This bold promise has sparked excitement among fans eager for a fresh take on Marvel's cosmic realm, especially after years of lackluster events in the corner of the universe. Yes, we've had a lot of very, very lackluster stuff out there in the cosmic realm. Right now, we've got Phoenix going on, which is not the worst thing ever, but it's not good either. We've had several failed attempts at getting Guardians of the Galaxy off the ground over the last 5 years, including one with Donny Cates, which somehow didn't work. But you would think if there's one thing that Donny Cates would absolutely be able to do, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy. Couldn't quite get that one off the ground, and it's kind of languishing right now. We really haven't had an exciting cosmic Marvel universe really since Dan Abnett was around, and it's been a long time since we got awesome stuff like Annihilation and things of that nature. So I'm excited for this because I would like to see a thriving Marvel cosmic universe out there with Jonathan Hickman like as the lead architect of that. It could be a good idea. It could be something exciting, but they've also kind of promised stuff like this before. They promised that Gods was going to be like a new beginning of Marvel's like mystic side of the universe. And it didn't do anything. Nobody even read Gods. They didn't really pay attention to it, and it essentially led to nothing. I think most people forgot about it, but there is going to be a Gods like spinoff coming out soon to tying into One World Under Doom, which I think is really, really strange. So Marvel and Jonathan Hickman have promised things like that in the past, and it didn't really work out. Now, he has had some very successful ventures kicking things off. I would certainly say that House of X Powers of 10 was successful, although the Krakoan era of X-Men didn't really work out in the end, but there was interest and enthusiasm there as soon as that series is over. The kickoff for the Ultimate Universe wasn't nearly as exciting, but once Ultimate Spider-Man came along, it actually did pretty well. So this has some potential, and I would love to see way more Marvel heroes like in space, and certainly Marvel cosmic heroes out there that we just don't get to see very often. So I'm cautiously optimistic because we have seen them promise things like this in the past and not really deliver. One of the cool things about what we're learning right now, it seems Hickman and Marvel have taken a hard look at the missteps of Ultimate Invasion in 2023, a series that, while foundational for the Ultimate Universe relaunch, was criticized for being bogged down by excessive setup and lacking the action fans craved. Hickman himself addressed this in Marvel's press release, stating, "The goal here is to kind of do what we did with the recent Ultimate line for all of our space titles, except having the setup book Imperial be more of an event than a world-building exercise like Ultimate Invasion." Marvel is pitching Imperial as a true event series in the vein of Hickman's acclaimed House of X Powers of 10, which revolutionized the X-Men in 2019 by balancing high-stakes actions and transformative world-building. This shift suggests Marvel is aiming to deliver immediate thrills alongside long-term cosmic restructuring, a move that could win over audiences who've grown tired of Marvel's drawn-out, low-impact relaunches. And I think this is definitely them learning from their mistakes, because while Jonathan Hickman is probably their last A-list talent, Jonathan Hickman's name alone, based on what Marvel has been delivering for the last 5 or 6 years, is not enough to put asses in seats. If it just says Hickman, but it's not exciting, it's excessive world building, There's not really much there. It's just learning about stuff that's happened. Rather than seeing fast-paced action storytelling with real stakes on the line, people are going to tune out real quick. Gods #1 was very, very expensive and didn't have a whole lot of hard-hitting action. Ultimate Invasion certainly laid the groundwork out for what's happening in the Ultimate Universe line right now, but it wasn't exactly thrilling. Probably not really even worth your time and money. You can jump in on Ultimate Spider-Man and be perfectly fine. You will learn everything that you needed to learn. So they do need to make this Imperial book matter. It needs to feel like a can't-miss event, kind of like House of X Powers of 10. Now, it's going to be a harder sell because that was setting up X-Men, the biggest team franchise that Marvel Comics has had, and probably the biggest team franchise in the history of comic books. Not exactly the hardest sell in the history of the world, where here you're working with the cosmic side of the universe, and certainly there are awesome cosmic side characters. You know, you got your Novas out there, your Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got your Star Jammers out there, you certainly have big threats in the form of Thanos and maybe like a Galactus and stuff out there. So there's certainly a lot of cosmic level threats and everything, but that is not an easy sell like it was for X-Men. You've really got to get people involved and interested, and he's certainly going to be borrowing from a lot of the Marvel 616 characters that aren't always cosmic, but have a little bit of cosmic history, which actually leads up to the one thing that looks most exciting, at least to me. The series is set to shake the foundations of several Marvel franchises, promising groundbreaking developments for the Hulks, Black Panthers, Novas, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Cosmic Kings and Queens. As teased in Marvel solicitations, one of the most intriguing elements is the return of characters in armor from the iconic Planet Hulk storyline from 2006, as seen in covers and previews by Marco Cicchetto and Ivan Coelho, featuring Bruce Banner, She-Hulk, and Scar in Planet Hulk-style armor on the savage planet Sakaar. While that storyline is legendary, Marvel has attempted to revisit and expand it multiple times, usually with diminishing returns. If Imperial is bringing back and reworking the mythos of Sakaar, they'll need to do more than bank on nostalgia to make it stick. Because as great as Planet Hulk is, and it's amazing, like definitely a career maker for Greg Pak, the last truly foundational, awesome Hulk story we've probably ever gotten. Almost 20 years ago at this point, unfortunately, but they have gone back there a lot. We've gotten plenty of sequels. I think we've gotten 2 or 3 sequels to World War Hulk, where they try to do it with like Gogurt Hulk and all this time. They've always been trying to recapture that magic, and it's never really worked because it never had that feel like it did the very first time. Is somebody's going to be able to go out there and take the remnants of Sakaar and what's left after Planet Hulk and certainly his return in World War Hulk and all that kind of stuff, and be able to mine that, make it cool and repackage it, and make it work again. I think this is something that Jonathan Hickman can definitely do, because he was able to go through the history of the X-Men and grab a lot of different elements, throw them into House of X Powers of 10, repackage them, and make it feel really, really exciting. He's that talented of a guy. And I think going back and adding those elements is probably going to be a whole lot of fun. I love Planet Hulk. I love Hulk in the armor, in the gear. I love Hulk's kid, all that kind of stuff. So that should be a whole lot of fun. And I think that could be a big time element to get people in, especially if he treats it right, because I think a lot of people that did like Planet Hulk, like myself, have been waiting for something to actually enjoy, because they've revisited a lot and never made it work. So I think that could be something that really works in here. There are a couple of other red flags, you know, depending on how you look at it when it comes to the details that we do have. One surprising and frankly questionable element being folded into Imperial is the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, introduced by Ta-Nehisi Coates during his Black Panther run. While Marvel seems eager to elevate this concept to centerpiece status in their new cosmic push, the reality is it never caught on with fans the way that Planet Hulk or Annihilation did. Instead of expanding Black Panther's mythos in a meaningful way, it buried the character under dense world building and abstract political drama. Now Hickman is reviving that underwhelming concept as part of his broader cosmic sandbox, but unless he dramatically retools it, this could be one of Imperial's weakest links, a carryover from Marvel's recent trend of mistaking complexity for impact. And I remember when they were rolling out the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, and you're like, well, at least he's doing something different. You know, they've always been like isolationists. They never want to, you know, be contacting the outside world, and now we're just going to be leaving Earth. Doesn't make sense, but maybe it could work. And then you read it and you're like, oh, he was just doing something that was completely different than what he had done on his first Black Panther run. And different is great, and I love new, but you have to do it well, and it never really like fleshed it out correctly. And I kind of wonder, or even question, Jonathan Hickman is including this in there, other than maybe he was just looking for elements of mainstay Marvel 616 characters that had ties to the cosmic side of the universe. This is a, loose thread, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But it also has gotten, I guess, a little bit of a second life. Apparently, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda is being featured in Marvel Rivals, which is really hot right now. I've seen some of the art there. It actually kind of looks cool. They got like a big Black Panther space station with like the Black Panther skull and stuff inside of it, which looks kind of neat. So maybe that's one of the reasons that he decided to throw that in there as a little bit of fan service. But I imagine he was working on this before Marvel Rivals even really became a thing. So I'm not really sure, but that's kind of questionable to me. Like, it's an interesting idea, but it never really worked. Whereas within the case of Planet Hulk, it was an interesting idea that absolutely did work. We got a phenomenal, legacy building story out of it when it comes to the Hulk run and Greg Pak's career. Whereas Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda did not work like that. It didn't really increase interest in Black Panther, but it was Ta-Nehisi Coates' second run, and I think he had probably driven off basically all the Black Panther readers at that time. So I find that one to be a little bit more iffy, but hey, if he's able to take a failed concept and make it cool, let's go for it. But really the biggest red flag is this. Imperial's roots trace back to Hickman's unfulfilled plans for an Imperial Guard book during his X-Men tenure, raising both excitement and concern. Hickman revealed in the 2022 Explain the X-Men podcast that he intended to craft a big space book featuring X-Men characters Cannonball and Sunspot, alongside the Shi'ar's Imperial Guard, a project meant to see major cosmic developments, but which never came to fruition. Now with Imperial, he's revisiting that vision, tying it to recent X-Men events like X-Manhunt, where Professor X and a resurrected Lilandra depart to rescue their daughter Zandra, depose Majestrix of the Shi'ar Empire. Hickman has the pedigree to launch something fresh, but Imperial will only thrive if it escapes the stink of the current X-line and delivers something worthy of Marvel's true cosmic legacy. So if you remember when he was doing that, I think it was a New Mutants book, where basically half of it was written by Ed Brisson and was like Beak in Nebraska trying to survive like the Purge or something. But the other half of the book was going to the Shi'ar Empire to go and get freaking Cannonball. And, there was like a brood egg and all this kind of stuff. That was all meant to launch out into something much bigger in some type of cosmic X-Men book, which makes a whole lot of sense. There's certainly lots of history with the X-Men and X-Men characters going cosmic. I mean, Professor X literally knocked boots with the Empress of the Shi'ar Empire and all that kind of stuff. But now you're tying it into this really bad X-line. Like the events that are setting up Professor X going back there all happened in that stupid X-Manhunt Omega issue. And I wouldn't want anything that I was creating that I wanted to be successful to touch anything in that X-Men line because it's so atrocious across the board. And you're going back and mining stories that you wanted to do, 4 or 5 years ago, but never really got around to. If the story is that amazing and if it's that important and it had that much potential, you probably don't scrap it to begin with. I mean, he's still got his freaking Children of the Vault story out there. He's still got some of that Phalanx stuff out there. He still hit a lot of the points that he wanted to. Yet this is something that he kind of cut loose with because I think it probably didn't have that much meat on the bone. He's clearly adding elements to it. He's throwing the Hulks in there. He's going to throw the Novas on there. He's putting the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda and stuff in there. He's trying to throw all these extra elements onto it to beef it up and hopefully spin out an entire line of Cosmic Marvel books, which, let's be honest, is he going to write all of them? Because if he ain't writing all of them, I've seen the talent that he brings along with him when he did his freaking his X-Men run. And it was, Ben Percy, who's not bad, but it was a whole lot of Tinny Howard. It was a whole lot of Jerry Duggan. It was a whole lot of bad writers that didn't really do anything for anybody, certainly didn't elevate anything. And if he's going to be launching out a bunch of Marvel Cosmic books, if he ain't calling Dan Abnett or something, what the fuck is the point? You're just going to have a bunch of books that don't even make it to 10 issues at that point. So this is going to be a hard sell, but I'm kind of on board because I do trust Hickman. This is the kind of stuff that I really like because I love sci-fi adventure, and I'm into seeing the Hulks again, from Planet Hulk. That's a cool idea for me. Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, I would love to see it work. Maybe it does here, but that's kind of intriguing. But tying into any of this X-Men stuff makes me go, wait. That sounds like a bad idea. but I'm definitely going to give this one a chance. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Are you getting caught up in the hype? Are you even considering supporting Imperial by Jonathan Hickman? It is coming out in a couple months, so not too distant future. If you're interested, you might want to throw this one on your pull list and maybe see if we can get some longevity to some of these series, because I would love to see much more Marvel cosmic universe type of stuff, not from Stephanie Phillips. I mean, i.e., it's kind of good and compelling and a lot of fun. If you appreciate this kind of news coverage, information regarding the comic book industry, this is one of the few places that you can get it right here on YouTube. And the best place to support us, to help us keep this mission moving forward, is Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. There's a button right here. I hope to see you there very soon. We got lots of new podcasts delivering every single day on the Patreon.